What's up, guys? Welcome back to Newswave. Well, yesterday, mayhem broke out online as it appeared that the Switch 2 release month had leaked out from CES. Well, as the story continued to evolve, we got more context, and you're definitely going to want to see the company that all of this is centering around, who apparently put the information out there. A bit of a callback to the Game Boy days. We'll go over that, though, here today. Also, we are going to be talking about Capcom, as it appears they're going back and adding DRM to some of their older games for one particular reason, and we've talked about SEGA and them going back and reviving some of their older intellectual properties. Well, it appears we know about 3 other ones that are making a comeback. Guys, if you enjoy these videos, make sure to hit that like button, helps out a ton, and if new here to the Spawn Wave channel, make sure you subscribe down below. And we're going to start today with Nintendo Switch Online with that Game Boy Advance app, as last night we did have some announcements for it. It appears that Golden Sun fans finally got that long-awaited W. We can see this posted up, though, over on Nintendo's account, where they say 2 epic adventures dawn. Golden Sun and Golden Sun: The Lost Age are coming to Nintendo Switch for Nintendo Switch Online Plus expansion pack members on January 17th. So next week. Awesome, awesome stuff. Also, I do like every time they make these announcements, for the most part, we get a trailer that follows. So think about that. You see the trailer here. It's Nintendo had to cut together a trailer for older Golden Sun games here in 2024. It's incredible stuff. But having both of those games go into the service at once is great. The box art's going to look awesome in that app. And these are games that the thing that I remember most about these is it really showed off like this style that had the Game Boy Advance putting up some awesome looking visuals, especially when it had those screen filling special moves in battle. And just the overall art style for that time on the handheld was incredible stuff. So yeah, I absolutely recommend checking out both of these games. Again, they'll be going into the service next week. Also, not to be outdone, we do have some other games that are making a comeback here. A bit of a surprise from Konami, as we can see this posted up. They say Felix the Cat and Rocket Knight games are getting re-releases. Okay, and by the way, this is from the Carbon engine. MVG just keeps winning here, but they did have some details here to follow up. The Felix the Cat bundle features both the 1992 NES and 1993 Game Boy titles. It's coming to PS4, PS5, and Switch. Moving to Rocket Knight Adventures Resparked Collection will launch on PS4, PS5, Switch, and PC. It has Rocket Knight Adventures, Sparkster RK2, and Sparkster. So you'll have animation and added animation intro. That's kind of cool. Rewind features, a boss rush mode, and much more. So awesome, awesome stuff. It's always great to see these older titles pop up with the Carbon engine logo. MVG, like I said, he's putting in a lot of work for these older legacy games, making comebacks for people who just never played them. You get a chance to, and that's really cool that we're all seeing limited run games step in so you can get a physical copy for it. So just keep an eye out for release dates and pre-orders and all that. Oh, and today, GranBlue Fantasy Relink's demo is live. Now, this is on the PlayStation 5 and the PS4. In fact, we can see the description here for it. They do mention that there's story mode, quest mode, tutorial mode. Okay, so the story mode, they say, lets you play through a portion of Relink's main story, and you clear the story mode to redeem rewards in the full game. They also mentioned the quest there. You clear the available quests to redeem rewards in the full game. So I haven't had a chance to play this yet, as it's going to go live basically overnight then, and when you see it in the morning here, it should already be up. But I will absolutely be downloading this and trying to play through it and get the different rewards, as I am looking forward to Relink. That is coming out at the end of this month, so January 29th, 2.5 weeks, and it's been in development for a while. It's bounced around as like 7 years, 6-7 years of development time, and based on some of the trailers and gameplay we've seen leading up to this, it looks pretty good. It does. It looks higher quality. So some early impressions on it, because it did go live in places like New Zealand early, are good. Although apparently there's quality in performance. Quality looks much better, but is 30 frames, performance a bit fuzzier at 60. I think I'm going to stick with performance, but again, I'll check it out later on today. And guys, with some of the quick news out of the way, let's get into the bigger stuff. Let's start right away with the mayhem that took place yesterday, when apparently the Switch 2 release timing leaked out from CES. And this was from a company that apparently is reviving Gameshark. Yeah, you remember back in the day, if you're old enough, you remember back then, usually you'd get a Gameshark from a friend, or like you'd get your parents to finally buy it for you so you could hack up, for the most part, Pokemon. That was the big one, right? Is what people would use it for, but I guess other games would make you invincible, infinite lives, money, and so on there. Basically, it would just edit the game code and act as a pass-through from your cartridge to the Game Boy, and you could do all kinds of fun stuff to it. Well, it appears it is making a comeback somewhat. We can see this posted up over on Nintendo Life. They did a very good job kind of gathering the information as it was breaking throughout the day, because when they had their initial press release, a lot of questions came in. You'll see why here in a second. Now, this company is Alltech Lansing, and they boldly claim that it'll be officially launching AI Shark, which is to be an AI-based version of those old cheat cartridges. All right, anyway, they mention here it's going to launch alongside of the Switch 2 in September 2024. All right, and obviously everyone looks at, oh, wait a minute. Do you say launch in September 2024 for the Switch 2? In fact, here's the full press release quote. The innovative gaming software is set to make a significant leap forward in the gaming experience, bringing enhanced gameplay for beginner-level users. The official launch is planned to coincide with the Nintendo Switch 2 in September 2024. As I mentioned, a lot of questions. Jason Schreier did post, kind of in response to this story as it circulated, saying an AI Shark spokesperson tells me they're just guessing about the next Nintendo console's release date. Following up from there, Giovanni, this are Digital Trends, says they've clarified that Nintendo has not set an official date, but that it will launch fall 2024, saying they did not backtrack on the device's name, the release plan, general existence, and then another update. Okay, they say that Nintendo has not officially clarified launch. Walks back the fall 2024 window. A very high possibility AI Shark is just guessing here or trying to grab press with a weird marketing stunt. And yeah, I think they hit on it right there. If I had a product that I feel like is going to be compatible with the Switch 2, because maybe I'm developing right now for the Switch, and it wouldn't take much to port it over. I mean, it might even just be backwards compatible as it is. Well, in that case, it's going to launch next to the Switch 2. And you know what? I'm going to take a guess. It's coming out in September 2024. Then when pressed, fall 20, holiday, somewhere in there. And then they get to the point where like, well, we don't really know. But it's too late. Everyone's already talked about it. And that's exactly what I would do. If I had to push a product, I would try to create some press with obviously something that is a very sought after topic right now with the Switch 2. So people are now trying to figure out, are they covering up? Are they hiding? No, I honestly think they just guessed as a way to promote this, I don't know, whatever this AI Gameshark, I don't really know what that's going to end up looking like. Is it going to be a pass-through cartridge device? Is it going to be a piece of software you download? Who knows? But at this time, I think they could be right about September 2024, because I've theorized that that would probably be a good month for Nintendo to launch the thing in, if indeed they're aiming more for the holiday season, get the initial wave out, and then restock ready to roll for like November and December. But that doesn't necessarily mean that they themselves know, just educated guess, I would say. And that's probably where you'd have to leave it here. And again, a lot of mayhem kicked up from this, but at the end of the day, not much actually leaked. This is just a company trying to promote their product with, I'd say, a good guess. Next up, let's talk about Capcom seemingly going back and adding DRM to some of their older games that you may have already purchased, and they seem to be doing this by way of just updating the game in your library. Now, originally, people noticed this with Resident Evil Revelations, and it started to make headlines from there. And in fact, you can see this, for example. This is from VG247, saying now players have spotted fresh updates to old Capcom games, with one of those being Resident Evil Revelations. As seen on SteamDB, the game's exe file has been updated a few times in recent weeks. Now, after I looked through this, some of the forums, some of the updates that were posted up on SteamDB, what appears to have happened is Capcom pushed an update to the game that actually broke it along with mod support, and seemingly that is from this Enigma Protector DRM. It's like anti-tamper, but it also seems to push back on any mods that have been done to the game, and Capcom has been very vocal about them just not liking mods in their games. And there was an incident with Chun-Li at a fighting game tournament that may have pushed them past the breaking point, but even before that, they kind of say that mods are very similar to just cheating in their mind. So a couple of other games that people have spotted includes the Mega Man Zero ZX Collection, And also the Mega Man Battle Network collection. Any mods that were done to that with this DRM are completely broken now, and since then, people are going back and just working to double check some of the games in their libraries, and this is a very frustrating thing because when you buy a game, like any of these older Capcom titles, even in a Steam sale for $2 or $3, to me, you're entering into that with the agreement as it is there, which is there's no DRM on it, at least at that time, not this Enigma one. We know Capcom will have DRM at times at launch and then remove it. And it's like, all right, great. But to put it back on, I don't know, that seems like a bad move in general. It's definitely not something that's good for the customer, as many have noted that the frame rate is taking dips. There's stuttering that wasn't there before, and that tends to happen with things like de novo anyway. It's just more stressful on the system as it makes calls back and forth to make sure, I guess, that you haven't pirated the game. But most of the time, those games get cracked anyway in a day or two, and the people who legally buy the game have a worse experience than the people who decide to download and crack the game. But certainly not a good look for Capcom, who has said recently that they're treating PC as their main platform. Are they? Because this just looks like it's more frustrating for customers on PC. Hopefully they have some sort of statement here in the next day or two to explain what happened. If they plan to just add DRM sweeping, you may as well just tell people so they know really not to buy these games on PC, and then their plans for the path forward, because this is just a very shady practice to throw DRM after they've gotten your money on that product. Next up, let's talk about SEGA and their recent initiative to bring back some older, dormant intellectual properties like Jet Set Radio, Golden Axe, Crazy Taxi. Well, it appears they have plans for another 5, so 10 total, and Insider Gaming has the scoop on 3 of those other 5 that are unknown. We can see this posted up over on their website. Speaking to sources, it's understood that Panzer Dragoon, Neon Genesis Evangelion, and Sakura Tyson, which I believe that's Sakura Wars, will all have new games and are all in their early stages of development too. Unfortunately, though, Insider Gaming wasn't able to verify the other 2 games that were greenlit, but recent trademark filings could give a strong indication. Crossing my fingers for Comic Zone. I think that'd be really, really cool to see that happen. Or, hey, you know what? Something like Alex Kidd. Why not? That could be interesting to see how they'd handle that. But either way, I feel like I'm looking at these now. Panzer Dragoon, yeah, I know that. I understand what that is. The original Xbox even, sure. But Neon Genesis and Sakura Tyson, if I remember right, I think those were Japanese Saturn releases. So they never came out of Japan. Although, obviously, people collect a lot of those Saturn games from Japan. And I feel like that is kind of where it stopped. In fact, I think Neon Genesis Evangelion, I think that was like right next to the anime when that was airing. But again, I've never played it. It didn't come out here in the US, and maybe that's an interesting IP for Sega to tap here, along with their initiative to bring back the other, I guess at that point, the other 5 now that we know about, and then 2 other ones. So interesting stuff to look forward to. It's going to be a while, I think, before we see any of this, although hey, they just randomly showed up at the Game Awards and dropped 5 games that they were bringing back. So I guess technically these could show up at any time. They could even make a post over on X and then they're off and running, or just a trailer on YouTube. It's a very, very unique time right now at Sega, and I gotta say, it's a lot of fun to see this going on there. And in our last bit of news, let's talk about Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown, as reviews did go live yesterday, and we can see this over on Metacritic, currently sitting on the PlayStation 5 with an 86. That is on 62 critic reviews. If we take a look at the split, 61 positive reviews and 1 mixed. And in fact, if you look on, say, the Switch, it's sitting at an 88. It's an 86 on the Xbox, 84 on PC, and I did have a chance to actually review this myself. There's a video up on the channel now if you want a bit more information around this game and some of my thoughts on it, but I'll give you some of the quick summary here. I really enjoyed the Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown. I think it's a great 2D Metroidvania game that does kind of work in some 3D perspective mid-battle, whether it's for parrying and you go in a really cool set piece, or just some of the cutscenes that happen, and it is optimized incredibly well. 60 frames per second at 1080p on the Switch, 4K 120 on the PS5 and the Xbox Series X. And for the most part, good 16 to 17 hours out of it, and it was just a really fun experience. So I think that, coupled with some of the time-based powers, a lot of the upgrades that you find, it's a very satisfying experience from start to finish. And it's coming in at $50, so it's not the full price. And the thing that I see right now online is it's a 2D game. Is it actually worth that kind of money? And it's sort of a shame that we still have that pause at checkout for 2D titles. That we saw it with Metroid Dread, and I feel like that's one of the big hesitations for any of these larger publishers when it comes to putting a bunch of money into a 2D game, because people look at them as just not even costing that much to make. But you'd be surprised, I think, at some of the budgets even around some of these 2D games, especially ones that are highly polished, even longer experiences like Lost Crown. But yeah, I do recommend it, and in fact, a demo is out right now, so I'd recommend at the very least check that out, especially if you're looking for maybe a new 2D Metroidvania. Think like Metroid Dread. If you enjoyed that one, yeah, I would definitely recommend checking out the Lost Crown as well. So I would check out the demo. Otherwise, the game will be releasing next week on the 18th. And before we go to the comment of the day, we're going to take a look at the poll that I posted up yesterday, where I ask, have you ever used a Gameshark? 52% say yes. Okay, half the audience. 35% say no, and then 13% say, what's a Gameshark? Probably making a lot of us feel kind of old. 35% with no. Yeah, I mean, to me, like, I didn't have a Gameshark till way later in that, I guess you'd call it a Game Boy generation. I had a friend who had two of them. One was the Game Boy Advanced one. If you remember what that looked like, it was like clear with like a loop on the top. And then I had a friend that had I think it was the black Gameshark. And we use that with things like Pokemon Blue and Pokemon Crystal. So it must have been one that supported the Game Boy Color variation. But yeah, absolute time saver, as you can imagine, since you put in some codes and boom, you had Mew or a Mewtwo or whatever you wanted, and you could have infinite money, the whole deal. I mean, there were some wild codes just getting thrown around on places like Game FAQs. You go on there, you'd look it up, and you would manually input at times like 8 lines of 8 characters, so like 64 different characters to input. But when you did it right, it was amazing, until your friend realized that you messed up their Pokemon cartridge and they had to restart because of corrupted code. And we'll finish up with the comment of the day, as you're seeing here. This is from Christopher, who says, it would be great if the V2 had Hall effect sensors. Biggest issue is stick drift. So this has come up multiple times because you see third parties do it. Oh yeah, they have Hall effect sensors in these sticks, no problem, stick drift, thing of the past. But then you get the high quality controller from Sony, Microsoft, Nintendo, and it still uses those Alps, very basic joysticks. One, they're cheap, I'm sure. And two, if it breaks, you're just gonna buy another one. So if they solve that problem that would cost them more money to do so, you might not need to buy an extra controller 3 or 4 years from now, and that would in turn cost them even more money. So it sounds bad from a customer perspective, but that is like the explanation I can come up with, because I mean, the Dreamcast controller had a Hall effect sensor. Why don't we have them 20 plus years later? I think we know why. And ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it here for Newswave. If you enjoyed this video, guys, hit that like button. If not, hit the dislike. Leave comments down below about everything we talked about here today, whether it was Gameshark, of all companies, apparently leaking the Switch 2 release month, only to pull back on it. It was a weird day yesterday with all of that at a CES. And then also, what about Capcom apparently going back and adding DRM to some of the older games that you may have already purchased? What do you think about that move just to fight mod support? Thanks guys for watching. Have a great weekend. I'll see you back here Monday morning, 8 Eastern time for Newswave.